We're planting a peach tree today on Pots and Trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of King Seed and Cobra Garden. Hello, welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, we're very excited today because I'm going to plant a peach tree. And this is our young peach tree. It's a 1-year-old tree known as a maiden. So it's in its first year of growth. And we're going to plant this in the garden so that in the future, we're going to get lots of juicy, delicious peaches. Now, we've grown peaches before, and homegrown peaches are so much better than anything you will ever buy in a supermarket. They're picked before they're anywhere near ripe, and they never do fully ripen. They're as hard as bullets, where if you grow your own and let them ripen, they're so sweet and they're so juicy. They are absolutely delicious. So we're going to plant this in the garden. I'm going to show you how to do it and how to start the process of fanning it out. It's going to be grown outside. We often see them grown in lovely stately home glass houses, these huge glass houses on a wall, which is great if you've got one. I haven't, but lots of peaches are ideal for growing outside in a sunny position where it's a bit of a sun trap. And this wall here is southwest facing, so it gets sun sort of from late morning until sunset. It will reflect the heat. It's a nice warm part of this vegetable garden here. So this will be ideal. And what I've done, a little bit of preparation, because we're going to fan train this out on the wall. So it's not going to be a bush. It's going to be a decorative fan shaped in a year or two it takes to get to that stage. And we've got to have something to train it to and fasten it back to the wall or the fence that you're growing it on. So what I've done already is I've put in some vine eyes here. So drilled the wall, plugged it, and we put the vine eyes in, and then we've got the wire threaded through them. I've tensioned mine by hand by just wrapping the wires around once I've pulled the wire really tight. But this is a short width that I'm doing. If you're doing a big length on a fence or a wall, then it's worth getting some of this type of tensioner. And these are really good because you can get that wire nice and tight and take any sag out of it completely. So we've got the framework in there to plant against and train against. So now we've got our peach tree. Now this is a variety of peach called Avalon Pride. It's been very kindly sent to me by our sponsor King Seed, along with a plum and a nectarine, which I'm also going to fan train. I'm going to do the nectarine in the glass house, but the plum and the peach are going to go outside. And the good thing about this variety, Avalon Pride, is it's resistant to peach leaf curl. And you may have seen a peach tree where the leaves go all distorted and blistered, bright red colour. That's a fungus disease that they get, and there's no control for it. You just have to pick them off and live with it. But this variety, Avalon Pride, doesn't get it, which is great. So it's ideal for growing outside, and it also produces delicious fruit. This is a bare root. Now here we are late March, so you know we're into spring now, and we're about at the end of the bare root. And for those that don't know, a bare root tree is one that is literally dug up out of the ground like that. So it's grown in the ground, it's been lifted and then sent out to me. I took delivery of this several weeks ago, and it's been healed into the garden. So I dug a hole and essentially planted it temporarily until we were ready here. So it hasn't started to make any roots yet, so I'll be fine. But if you want to plant a peach, then I doubt you'll get bare root at this time of the year, but all the suppliers usually sell them in containers as well, which you can plant all year round. So here it is. So I'm just going to pop that back in that bag just to stop the roots drying out. That's really essential. We don't want them to dry, otherwise it can just affect it a little bit. So what I've done with the ground, it's been well prepared, as I've said, nicely forked over. They like really good drainage, peaches do, so it's important that we break up any hard layers. And I've worked in lots of homemade garden compost into the area. It's got some bits of old sheep wool in there. We got some old fleece that we put into the compost heap, and it's not all rotted down, but it's a great source of nitrogen as well. So what I've done is raked that over, broken it all up like that. I'm then going to dig my hole. So we're going to put it in the centre here. So I know because I've forked it so well, it will dig out really well. So dig it out. But it really is important that you do ground preparation, because this peach is going to be here for hopefully a long time. And it's important that we get it off to a good start. Plenty of moisture there, which is good. So we dig a nice deep hole. Make sure that it's loosened down at the bottom as well. Bit of something there. So that's absolutely fine. Now, what I'm going to do is just to give this an extra head start. Although I've worked in some garden compost, that's not going to supply an awful lot of nutrients. It's going to condition the soil and keep it in good condition. So I've got just a little bit of organic fertiliser here, some blood, fish and bone. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that, not an awful lot, just a couple of small handfuls over the soil I've dug out and a little bit into the hole. And we can just mix that in a little bit like that. So there we go. Tree. Here it is. It's always worth just checking the roots on anything bare root. These are nice and clean, but if they were jagged, I would just trim them a little bit. But these are fine. And this is the point here. This is the root stock. And this is the point where it was budded over a year ago, because this is then 1 year's growth on there. So we can position that now centrally. Now this is the center point where I've got another row here. So I'm going to position it. It's got a bit of a bend on it, but that's not a problem at all. So I'm going to position it sort of like that. And that's where it's been grown to there. So we want it to be roughly back at the same height. So I'm just going to backfill a little bit of soil. I've probably gone a little bit deep. Okay. And that's the sort of level the soil will be, as you can see there. So that is absolutely fine. And we're just going to, we want it close to the wall like that, and the soil will come to about there. So this is where you need 3 hands. So I'm going to put a little bit of soil, this lovely friable soil, over there to cover the roots, and then we need to make sure that soil goes down in between the roots. So what we do is just give it a shake, and you can see the soil is actually dropping because it's now filtering nicely between. Loads of worms in this soil, which I think came in the compost. So just give that a little bit of a firm. I know you'll find your way back in, but I don't want to bury them just yet. So that's in position, and then we can put a bit more soil around it. Again, just another bit of a shake, and then we can give it a bit of a firm using your foot. Okay, just firm it, and I'm leaning it back slightly towards the tree. I'm leaning it back slightly towards the wall, and then we can a bit more soil. It really is easy. The secret is never let the roots dry out. But as I've said, you won't get a bare root now, so you're probably looking to buy a container one, or wait until the autumn when they'll be available again. And then just that final firming like that. We want it so when you've finished, you can't pull it out easily. It's important that the firming makes sure that the soil is in contact with the roots. We've got no big air pockets in there. So I'm quite happy with that. And then we'll just tidy that round to make sure it's the right depth, and that's fine. I'm happy with that. So that's the tree planted. So now we've got the scary bit, because we've got it in there and we want to train this into a fan. At the moment, if we left that to grow, it would just make a bush. It's a multi-stemmed bush sort of tree. And we want it to produce these lovely fan of branches growing out. So we've got to be a little bit drastic and do some pruning. And this is always the scary bit. You buy a tree, but then we're going to basically cut most of it off. So you've got to be brave when you do this. Now, sometimes if they've got lower branches, you could leave 2 of the branches, but these are too high. We want the fan to come from quite low down. So these branches are no good. But if these branches were down here, we could cut down to just above them. But they're not, so we've got to bite the bullet. So you want a sharp pair of secateurs and be very, very brave. So all along here, there are dormant buds. So what we're going to do is to cut it down to there. literally like that. And if you do it quickly, it doesn't hurt. So it's just a case of cutting the top down like that. Oh, and I'm cutting all of that off, which is quite a brave thing to do, isn't it? So you think, what's going to happen now? Well, what will happen, and I can guarantee it, is that all the energy now that goes in when the roots start to grow will go into these dormant buds here. We've taken the top off, so these buds will now become active, and it will produce 2, 3, maybe 4 shoots from down here. And what we will do in the summer, when we start to get that nice lush long growth, is we'll get some canes, and they will be positioned, and I won't do them until we start to get the growth, but just to show you roughly, they will be positioned sort of like this, so that as we get the growth, we can tie one to this cane and one to this cane. So wherever they grow from, we can tie them to the cane, and that will form the basis of our fan by getting a Y shape, and then for the following year we'll get more shoots growing off that. So it's going to take a couple of years to get the shape, but it's really fun to do. And if it all goes wrong, you just cut a shoot out and another one will grow back in its place. And we'll keep an eye on this. Well, let's have a look at it later on in the summer to see how it goes. So I'll take those out for now. I'm just going to take out my footprints to leave it nice, neat and tidy. I will put a label on there so we can remember what it is. And even though the soil is fairly moist, I'm just going to give it a little drink. This is water with a bit of seaweed feed in it. Seaweed is really good for encouraging root growth. And what that will do is just make sure that the soil is in contact with all those roots. So not too much. And then I won't water that again until I see some growth in about a month's time, and I'll keep my eye on it over the summer. If it is very dry, we'll give it a bit more water in that first year just to encourage the roots out. But let's watch it and see what happens. Unfortunately, I can't do anything with that, so that will just be shredded and added to the compost bin. And don't forget, all the videos that we've done over the past few years you can find on our YouTube channel, where you can subscribe for free. And look out for our podcast. It comes out every Sunday morning with lots of gardening hints and tips.
Fill the raised bed with some free draining soil so that
I'll be back again in the veg garden next week when we're going to start planting some veg. So we'll see you then. Bye.